Welcome to Politics Done Right on KPFT. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Give me a call at 713-526-5738. That is 713-526-KPFT. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Thank you very much for spending this 1 hour with me. I tell you, it's going to be worth your time for what we're going to discuss. We're going to be discussing El Señor Trump. I mean, I know a lot of times we're tired of hearing his name, but believe it or not, this guy is a clear and present danger to everyone. As such, we have to try to get through the minutia and ensure that people are going to be out there voting their interest and knowing what their vote for. Maybe some would still decide that they want to vote for Donald Trump, to each his own. But the one thing we want to make sure to do is make folks very aware of what they're doing, what they're voting for when they choose this person. Now, everybody know that the guy made a pivot this week. What is that all about? We're going to kind of discuss it, but one of the things that I'm going to discuss in the blog of the week for Coffee Party USA, for Politics Done Right on Coffee Party USA, is to show how money buys everything, to show how the person who is now his campaign manager, a few weeks ago, it was quite a different story. A few weeks ago, she had a whole lot of other things to say about El Señor Trump. But anyhow, folks, please do remember, for those watching on Facebook, you can talk to me and give me information like we have Gerald who said, reform slumlord? I think not, because part of what we're going to talk about is Señor Trump's currently trying to seek out the black vote. Señor Trump currently trying to seek out the women's vote. Is this going to work? Are people going to really forget all the things that he said? Or are people going to forget who he really is? I think not. So anyhow, what I want to discuss with you guys today is, and folks, do remember that you can either talk to me over Facebook Live, and you can also call in to the show at 646-929-2495 if you want to have your voice transmitted over the air as well. 646-929-2495. 95. Sometimes I get a little mixed up with the numbers because I do this Politics Done Right on Coffee Party Network as well as on the Pacifica Network, KPFT 90.1 FM in Houston, Texas. So please bear with me. Do remember, folks, that again, this is your show. At any time, if you so choose, you can also change the direction of the discourse. Today, what I want to talk about Today, what I really want to talk about is Trump and what he thinks he's going to do for the body politic, what he thinks he's going to do for other folks. But if you want to add to the discourse, type it in there on the Facebook page or give me a call, 646-929-2495. The way we're going to change this country is one at a time. It's not going to come from ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, CNN, and all these other guys. These guys are not our friends. Yes, they promote information, but do remember that they're a corporate media and they promote the interests of those who pay them. They promote the interests of those who pay them. Daniel Ledo, welcome aboard. You can get a vote if you don't ask for it. Very, very true. What Mr. Ledo just said is very true. If one does not ask for the vote, and that goes for what Trump is doing right now. He's now asking for the black vote. He's now asking for the woman's vote. But one must also ask him if he will first atone for all the things that he's ever said about black folk, women, and the list goes on. But you know what time it is, folks. You know what time it is.
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay, now I call it a weekly blog post. It's just a blog post that I penned today after seeing a tweet, believe it or not. So whereas Trump reacts to a tweet or gets irate from a tweet or have a tweet get to him, this particular tweet had a story that I've been, in watching all these stories over the internet, it is obvious that it's sort of an incestuous relationship that we have between the media, the politicians, etc., etc., etc. But this one was kind of interesting because Trump decided to get new leadership. He got rid of the Russian spy. I like to call him the Russian spy. He's not really the Russian spy, but he did a lot of work for many in the Russian government. Russian satellites, etc. And that is who Trump had chosen to be his campaign CEO, manager, and everything in between. Do remember, had a Democrat brought in a Russian agent to run their campaign, and that same Democrat started taking Russian-centric positions, one would wonder, what would the right say? What would the right be doing or putting out on their stations if it were a Democrat who brought in someone who was an agent for Russian interest into the fold? But that is a flaw of the Democrats. They don't know how to play the current political game. Trump should have been attacked immediately as soon as he brought on Manafort because, well, Manafort really did a lot of work for the Russians. And not only did he did a lot of work for the Russians, now he's having Trump, who knows very little about policy, if any, take Russian-centric positions. Anyhow, folks, the title of the blog of the week: Trump's new campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway, destroyed him while a TV pundit. And you know what? Kellyanne is a very smart woman. She knows her politics. But again, this is yet another incestuous relationship. Donald Trump's new campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway, was not kind to him while she was a CNN pundit. Money can buy loyalty, as her tune about him has changed. Currently, the mainstream media is giving Conway high praises. She is now a media darling that changed the direction of the Trump campaign. She is changing the direction of the Trump campaign. She is making Trump a more serious person. She is somehow, through osmosis, is going to get Kellyanne's intelligent. Remember again, and Kellyanne is an intelligent woman, and not only is she intelligent, but she knows the media and she knows how to handle the media. So for all of those who are counting out Trump yesterday and today and think Trump cannot make a comeback, he can. It's difficult, but he can. And I tell you what, if he were to follow this woman's sensibilities, because a lot of times intelligence come in packages that don't say I am intelligent. It just comes in what's done. But anyhow, will they ask, when Kellyanne goes on the network TV, when she goes on the program, and she's been on many, but no one asks her the pertinent questions, will they ask her how she can work and defend a man she was so disgusted by just a few weeks ago? The fusion of clips in the post and by the way, go to the blog of the week, because what I did is I got all these clips from Media Matters and another place that had all these clips of what Kellyanne had to say about Trump. And I fused them together into, and I cut out a lot of the extraneous stuff, and I fused it into I guess it's about just over 3-minute clip. Take a look at that. It's quite interesting. She had a whole lot to say on this. She said on his tax returns, oh, absolutely. She said that she was supporting Ted Cruz at the time, I believe. She said he was a transparent person, but oh, absolutely, it's completely transparent. Donald Trump's tax returns, however, aren't transparent. I would like to see those to be transparent. She also said on Trump's vulgarity, and I think that was great, Scotty. And then she says, look, I try to send a message all along to Donald Trump, to the establishment, that now I got to get serious about sending somebody to the White House, and I want somebody who herds personal insults or who goes and talks about philosophical differences. She was speaking about Donald Trump using the P word, and she's saying that Americans now that the campaign is over, the primaries are over, what Americans want is somebody serious. She also said on Trump, on the back of the little guys. And I think that's actually something that could hurt Trump in South Carolina. And if people start to see that he says he's for the little guy, but he's actually built a lot of his business on the backs of the little guy, and he's a lot of the little guys and he got on the backs of the little guy through what? Eminent domain. That is taking away their property legally. Or through not paying contractors. As you know, this man has stiffed a whole lot of contractors. Salvador Perez, ¿cómo estás? Nice to see you on here as well, my friend. Remember, folks, share the video, because this is a way that we are going to make a difference. And those that want to call in, please do remember the telephone number 646-929-2495. I'd like to hear your voice. I see that my regular friend John is already here. We'll get to you in a little bit, John, but I'd love to hear other voices that you guys can hear as well. On insults and personal insults and lying, she had this to say, and I think that was a great try, Scotty. She was speaking to somebody else, but it is vulgar, and this is equivalent, and this is the equivalency really. In New Hampshire, of Donald Trump skipping the debate in Iowa, it cost him votes, and I know people think thrice now when they go into the ballot box and said they tried to send this man a message, but to no avail. About whining and complaining about the rules, she said the following: and so you can whine and complain all you want that you didn't know the rules, you changed the rules. I would just also say there's also analysis today that Donald Trump won 35% of the popular vote, but 42% of the delegates already. Apparently they like the rules. They like those rules. In other words, he complains about the rules, but he took advantage of the rules and get in the delegates. And to the hearts of the very conservative pro-life folks, and by the way, hold on a second. I am a pro-life person. I take offense to anyone who calls themselves pro-life and support the death penalty. I take offense to anyone who call themselves pro-life and support what police officers have done to many folks simply because they were scared of folks who looked like yours truly. I am a pro-life person. I believe in a woman's choice. What we should really be called, what has been standardized as pro-life today, we should be calling those folks anti-choice. So I will modify Kellyanne's word, because we're not talking pro-life here. We're talking anti-choice. But I have to say, as a anti-choice person with many anti-choice candidates who are very disappointed, anti-choice causes are very disappointed today. They don't need 4 or 5 times to get it right. They would have gotten it right the first time, because the anti-choice community is of one mind. The anti-choice community is of one mind. You do not punish the woman. And let's be honest, Kaylee, Mr. Trump has gotten $2 billion worth of free earned media coverage so far, according to the Washington Post analysis recently. So, if you live by the media questions, sometimes you have to die by the media questions, and sometimes it's not just a good day for the home team. So there she was, and there are quite other snippets that I didn't have the time to cut up and put into that one fuse clip, because like I said, I got up this morning and I saw this thing and I felt that it fit perfectly into what I wanted to talk about today. So I went ahead and put all these clips together and try to get it on to my blog in time to get it up on time at the Coffee Party USA website. So you can, or Coffee Party USA Facebook page. So you can go to Politics Done Right by Berto Willis on Facebook, or you can go to the Coffee Party USA page and read the entire blog and see the clip. The video is actually pretty astounding. The way I clip it together, watching all those things fused together is quite interesting. I want to jump back on this pro-life issue. It's not the subject of the discussion, but since I have the ear of many people right now, I want folks to start standing up. Do not allow anybody, do not allow any party, do not allow any institution to tell us, those of us that are pro-choice, those of us that support women choosing what to do with their body, how to control their bodies, everything. Let's not allow those people to take away our humanity, or our desire, or our real belief in life. After all, those who think like us are consistent. We believe the death penalty is evil no matter what. We don't believe in a state-sanctioned murder. You cannot be pro-life if you believe in the death penalty. You cannot be pro-life if you believe in policies that ultimately causes the death of others. In other words, indirect death, supporting indirect death is no different than supporting death, than holding the trigger. So if you are a warmonger, if you constantly want to invade the Middle East, if you want to drop bombs where people continuously die because they're not following the rules as you would have them follow them, you cannot be pro-life. You cannot be pro-life if you support social policies that cause the death of people. You cannot be pro-life if you support there is no serving Texas politician today. And folks, I'm talking about Texas now, but this applies to Kansas and many other states. No Texas politician, Kansas politician who voted against the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act. They are not pro-life. They have sanctioned the deaths of many of their citizens. Many Texans are dead today because we as a society chose not to give them the health care they would have otherwise had. And to put the blame on the president saying, oh, well, it will cost us more. It is a lie, because in 3 years, this was offered to every state free of charge. So even if they wanted to get rid of it after 3 years, because it would then cost them only 10%, the fact that they use their ideology to go against the masses, the fact that they use their ideology not to provide care to their fellow man, that's neither humane or pro-life. It is anti-life. They are, to put it bluntly, if you knowingly cause the deaths of somebody, if you're driving drunk and you hit somebody, it's murder, it's manslaughter. Those politicians who are effecting policies that hurt their constituents, they are murderers. So let's be clear about it. There's nothing moral about them. They are immoral murderers. Let's be frank. I will open the phone now, and folks, anybody else who wants to call or wants to give a message, and thank you very much, Salvador. I know I hit that one right. I appreciate that. For anyone who wants to call in and have their voice heard to the other people, not only on Facebook Live, but also on the Coffee Party Network, please give me a call. The number is 646-929-2495. Will Trump get the black vote? Will Kellyanne Conway, Kellyanne Conway the manager that Senor Trump needs? Okay, I'm opening the line. Senor Jean from San Antonio, my favorite caller. How are you doing today, sir?
Good afternoon, Alberto. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, my friend. Talk to me.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear your take on the Kellyanne Conway.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of goes into the hypocrisy.
Yes.
That he portrays. I mean, it's just like so many of them. Who didn't support Trump initially.
Right.
I want to address something that he said yesterday.
Sure,
about,
please do.
When he was trying to get the African American vote,
mm-hmm.
and I just, it's incredibly disgusting. But I just want people. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people already heard it.
Well, believe it or not, John. That's why we have this. A lot of people haven't heard this. And folks, if you're watching this on Facebook, share this stuff. This is what he's going to tell us is going to be some good information. Go ahead, John, because I know what you're going to say.
So he's trying to address the African American community, and he says what do you have to lose by trying something like Trump? What do you have to lose? I'll say it again. What do you have to lose? You're living in poverty. Your schools are no good. You have no jobs. 50% of your youth is unemployed. What the hell do you have to use? To lose, rather.
Right.
And so, I mean, this is so degrading. I mean, my opinion is that the African American community is far more informed than the white community, and I say that as a white man. My values are much closer to the African American community. I think they make very wise choices. I wish we would have gotten more support from the African American community for Bernie Sanders,
Yes.
but that's something else.
We
a lot of that.
John, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. We have a lot of work to do, and for it's when somebody doesn't know you, it's hard for them to vote for you. And we just needed more time to get Bernie Sanders acquainted to the I like to say the black community, really, because African American are usually. I want to go off on a little tangent here. If you notice in most of the things that I write, I say the black community, and the reason I usually use the black community as opposed to the African American community is sort of a personal issue, right? I am a black person. And as a black person, but I'm from Panama. So when I'm filling out forms, my classification based on the IRS forms is Latino Hispanic. Of course, I always kind of tag black on the end of it. A Nigerian isn't an African American either, by definition of how the census papers work. Black American is a whole lot more encompassing. I know for a whole lot of the native black Americans, they kind of may take issue with that. But the reality is, folks are, I much prefer black American. But continue. I didn't mean to interrupt you, sir.
Yeah, no, I know you said that before also. But, either way you want to phrase it. I think we know what
right.
What community we're talking about. And but my point is that I do think that they're very informed.
Right.
I think they make very good choices, and I think there's a lot of great African American or black, people like Barbara Lee. I can go on the list and name 50 different great black or African American great politicians,
right,
and pundits, and people who supported the Sanders community, Ben Jealous, and Simone Sanders, Nina Turner. Many of them.
They're great, yes.
And so this is an attempt to. He realizes that he's losing badly, and so he's trying to have it both ways. He's trying to. Really, the Bannon pick is more interesting and also thoroughly disgusting pick, because the stuff that he puts up on Breitbart is just it's unbelievable, and so many of the writers that
right.
he has writing for him are completely racist. I'm sure you saw. I don't know for sure, but Matta a couple nights ago had. People who were writing for him kept going on and on. Anti-Semitic, anti-Muslim, African American or black. It's just so sad that kind of discourse is reigning in America. And I know that you're not going to like when I say this, but I'll preface it by saying, I encourage everybody to vote, and it's very important. But after November 9th, I think that our palate will be to some degree fairly cleansed from the Trump phenomena.
Well,
and so.
Look,
that's going to be a real pleasant time for me.
I don't see why you think I wouldn't like that. I definitely like that. What I want to urge people to do is that they have to go out there and vote. We've been sitting on our butts. A lot of us have for a long time, and I think it is urgent. In fact, let me jump the gun on our some coffee party projects that we have right now. But one of our projects will be involving really attempting to get out the vote by having a whole lot of things that we're going to do to try to entice people to vote. So folks, again, if you want to get on like John, the only way to do that is to give us a call at 646-929-2495. For those listening on our Facebook page, please, or watching on our Facebook page, feel also free to put anything in there. I'm reading it as we speak, so I can see if you have something that you want to ask. If you want me to say something, I can see if you type it in. So welcome aboard Marianne Castiglia, my coffee party friend, and of course, Teresa Allen from our KPFT family. Welcome aboard the show as well. Shireen Morrison, I hope I said your name correctly. Welcome aboard. Please remember, when you're watching these programs of this type on the internet or on Facebook Live or on Periscope Live or wherever, when you find these types of programs, please, folks, share it. We have to become the media. And also, please remember to go off to my page, Politics Done Right with Egberto Willies, that Facebook page, and like the page so that we can actually expand our reach. John is absolutely right. We expect after January that our palate will somewhat feel cleansed. Yes, it'll feel cleansed. But I have a corollary I want to add to what John had to say, and that is feeling cleansed on the day after the inauguration of the next president, assuming, let's say, that it's Hillary Clinton and not our clear and present danger, Donald Trump. I think it is important then that to realize that the work will just have begun. Because make no mistake, politicians listen to wherever they're getting the most pushback. And I don't care whether you like Hillary or you don't like Hillary. If Hillary becomes president, it will be incumbent upon you. It will be incumbent upon us all to go out there and ensure that she not only honors what she said she would at that Democratic convention, but that she performs in the best interest of the poor and the middle class. Folks, you're listening to Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies. Please do remember, this is a call-in show. You can give me a call at 646-929-2495. Again, that number is 646-929-2495. Of course, you can watch on Facebook. Let me take another caller. 832, you are on the air. Who do I have the honor of speaking with?
This is Don from the KPFT family.
Don from the KPFT family. How are you doing, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing great, man.
Talk to me.
Don and John once again this week.
It's Don and John. You know, I mean, let me tell you, it's amazing because a lot of folks like to listen on Facebook. And if I look at my stats here on Blog Talk Radio, they love to listen. Very few people call in. You know, at our KPFT show on live on air, we also have a set of people that call all the time, but every now and then we get all those. And well, we had a great show on Thursday. We had most of the people that call in. We had a ton of people, first of all, and people we've never heard of before. So that's what I like, and I'd love some other people to join as well. 646-929-2495. Come on in. Let me hear what you have to say, Don.
So the whole thing on Trump talking about the blacks and of course now he's saying African Americans.
Right.
Stop using the word for blacks.
He's confused.
Somebody told him, coming from a white guy, saying the blacks, it just sounds bad.
Yeah.
But,
well, I don't say the blacks either. I mean, when you say the blacks, it would be like saying, "Hey, the whites," or the reds, or the, you know. I mean, it just doesn't sound too cool, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't. But I truthfully don't think that what he's doing is actually trying to go for the African American vote or the black vote.
Right.
I think what he's doing, because already those who were going to vote for Trump, regardless if they're black, they were going to vote for Trump. Those who weren't, this is not going to turn them into Trumpsters, but it's going to make it easier for the Republicans to consume Trumpism now that Trump goes, hey, I want to also do something for the African Americans, and plus it gives those people who are diehard Trump supporters
Right.
are thing to point at and go, look, Trump does care about the African Americans. So point out something that he says that is racist against black people. Even though you can say something racist against any other, ethnicity or any person that doesn't believe in you, that could be easily pointed out. But the thing is, he hasn't said anything explicitly about black people that is negative. But the thing is, we kind of know. It's one of those things that's implicit.
Well, let me correct that, Don, because I had a caller yesterday on Thursday who said that, and I promised him that I would get the videos, because there are videos out there where he has actually said negative things about black folk. So the videos out there. Liliana Rosa Monasterio, saludos a ti también. Bienvenida. Anyhow, so actually, he has said many bad things about black folks as well. So I mean, this guy's an equal opportunity offender to anyone who's not white. Continue, Don.
Exactly.
Did you have something else to add, Don?
John.
You, Don.
Oh, Don. No, that's pretty much it. It was just, I think he's really going forward towards trying to get those white Republicans that kind of feel awkward and on the fence to go, okay, well, at least he's trying to do something for the blacks, even though the Republican Party really isn't trying to do anything for African Americans. They really try to shut down every single program that comes up to help out African Americans. So for him to say it, they go, okay, well, he can at least say that against Hillary Clinton, who for some reason has been very silent as of late.
Well, you're right, Don, you're so right. And by the way, I've heard other pundits make the same case that you've just made, that in effect, the reason he goes ahead, where is he, in the three speeches that he gave, where he's actually coming out in support of asking for the black vote, asking blacks to, hey, how have the Democrats served you so far? Vote for me, because after all, if that hasn't worked, even if you think I'm a racist, please vote for me, because look, I may be a racist who's going to do good things for you. So, I mean, and I want to, this is an interesting thing that I want to say here, and I hope folks take it right. But, you don't fall in love, and this is where I try to talk to many of the supporters of Bernie Sanders or whomever are supporters. Don't fall in love with candidates. Fall in love with policies. Johnson, our president from Texas, was great on policies, right? He was great for the civil rights. After all, he passed Kennedy's, he finished, a lot of folks would say he finished Kennedy's job. He was good on social programs with the New Society or whatever it was called. I don't think anyone would sit back and believe that Mr. Johnson was some great guy who loved black folk or loved Latinos or loved any of these kind of things. But his policies were where it needed to be. I think that is important. Now, if Trump could make a case that, I'm not trying to tell you that I didn't say racist things. I'm not trying to tell you that I'm not a racist or anything like. I'm saying that when I go into power, when I get power, if you put me there, I will be serving you. I mean, that's a selling point if you can believe it. And because there's a point that he also makes, right? And he says, you're a consistently democratic person. Meaning to the black folk, you consistently vote Democratic. But the policies that you need, many times, it's not that they don't want to pass the policies. It's just that it's not easy and they don't give it the priority that it needs. I mean, and that is the truth, right? I mean, we could look at many policies that even President Obama could have tried to get through that would have been more positive to the black community, to the Latino community, that he didn't. Why? Because it was hard and it didn't fulfill the entire, the grand mission that he wanted to accomplish. So, to that effect, somebody could make that argument for Trump and get Trump to get a slice of the pie, not a majority of the pie, of course, but a slice of the pie by saying, I am not trying to tell you that I've loved you, but I'm trying to tell you that when I go in here, I would be good enough to effect these policies that they didn't effect. Not only that, I mean, you know the term I always use on my radio show, we would have defeated the plutocracy when we unite Appalachia, the ghettos, and the barrios. Yes, that's a very stereotypical thing, but I think folks get what I mean. And what I mean by that is any president or any presidential candidate that can really speak to those folk to let them believe that they're going to be going out there to support policy. Because really, the Democrats and everybody else, it hasn't only been black folks that get screwed or Latino that gets screwed. Our brothers and sisters in Appalachia, they've been screwed too. The only problem that has occurred there is that they believe that they've been screwed because those blacks and those Latinos are taking what is rightfully theirs. So there are two things that are happening there. We have to talk to those folks as opposed to dog those folks, but we need to talk to those folks and try to let them realize that after all, guess what, people? We're in the same boat. You know, we are in the same boat. When we allow these guys to come in and divide, that takes our eyes off of the ball. And that's what we don't want to do. John, and you have to say.
Well, I think when Trump first came out, he was actually talking about some economic policies that were more in line with democratic values. Mm-hmm. In other words, he was talking about, let's say single payer. He was saying, in Scotland it works really well. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about, we're going to really tax those hedge fund managers.
Right.
And, that lasted about a month. And he got a lot of pushback from the Republican hierarchy. And then all of a sudden that kind of talk just kind of died. He came out with his first tax plan, which was last August, a year ago. And it was just, like unbelievably, bad. And so then this latest tax plan that he came out with and all these other economics are almost as bad, just unbelievable, tax cuts for the rich. I mean, it's just the same thing that all the Republicans have. And so I think his instincts are, because he's actually supported a lot of Democratic candidates, and that's just for pay to play. And it's funny that he always talks about Clinton as, being the ultimate pay to play person. I mean, he said it just in recent days. And I mean, that's what he was saying through his whole campaign is that, like, I was the ultimate pay-to-play guy, but I was the one who was asking for the favors. I was using my money to influence them. Now, he's saying, I'm not going to let them influence me, but, I mean, look at his tax plans. And so, I mean, after about 2 months, I said, this guy, you can't believe anything that he says on policy, because I'm thinking about policy. I'm a policy guy. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm thinking about is policy. But, I mean, he has no consistency. I mean, and so I think... Well,
he has no core. You're correct. The guy has no core. And if you don't have a core, you can't ask people to vote for what they don't know. The problem, though, John, is a lot of our voters, I think we demean them by calling them low information voters, which is the case. But I think it is on us, right, on those who know, those who watch programs like this, those who watch other programs that try to tell the truth. I think it's incumbent on us to kind of get that out, because a lot of folks are not going to do the homework that you do. A lot of folks don't have the time to do the homework that you do. So, I mean, having a little program here on Facebook that folks can chime into every now and then and say, oh, really? I didn't really know that. Okay, now I do. That is how we're going to change things. One step at a time, one step at a time. But you're right. When it comes to his economic plan, it's amazing because the raw numbers prove that it will probably have a $10 trillion effect on the economy in the other direction over 10 years. And the media does not spend the appropriate amount of time telling Americans that, look, this plan, if effected, and by the way, if Trump is elected president of the United States, there are some guarantees that I'll give you. If Trump is elected president, it also means that the Senate stays in the hands of Republicans. It also means that the House probably gets more of a supermajority. So anything that he writes down right now, yes, you're right, Shreen, no core, no truth, no policies. Anything that he talks about right now that Paul Rand agrees with will become a reality. And why would it become a reality? Because I tell you one other thing that's going to happen. Hi, Rhonda. I tell you, buenos dias, ¿cómo estás? Anyway, I'll tell you one other thing about Trump. And this is folks to realize, folks believe like if the Democrats win, or rather if the Republicans keep the Senate, at least they won't have a filibuster-proof majority. Let me tell you something, guys. The filibuster is on shaky grounds. It's not a constitutional entity. It's not a constitutional rule. And therefore, anyone who believes that knowing what the GOP knows today, that it is a dying party, that they're losing the majority in hearts, in people over the next few years, that they won't institute policies now to ensure that they don't get run over the next time we have a full-fledged democratic assault, if you will. They're dreaming. Mark my word, if they hold on to the Senate, the filibuster is dead. What do you think about that, John?
Yeah, I think it all depends on, I've actually been promoting this, consistently on Sam Cedars' show.
Right.
I think if they win the House and the Senate, then, they're basically going to be in a position to where nothing will pass unless you eliminate the filibuster. And I'll take it a little bit farther and say, we need to start framing this different, because what everybody talks about is when you talk about eliminating the filibuster or really eliminating cloture,
right?
Is basically saying that you need 60 votes. I mean, that can be eliminated. You can make it majority rule instead of calling it the nuclear option.
Right.
What they should be calling it is majority
rule. Exactly.
That instills. And so, if right now, according to just about every polling aggregator, it would be 50-50 with the polls the way they're standing right now. And so if Clinton wins, the Senate would be in Democratic hands, because
right.
The deciding vote would be the vice
president. Sure.
And so at that point, I think they should eliminate the filibuster for Supreme Court nominees, because when they eliminated the district court filibuster for that, when the Democrats still had that in 2013, they didn't do that for the Supreme Court.
I know.
So I think they're going to need to do that for the Supreme Court. And then if they win the House back, then it's going to be the big decision is, are we going to do that for all legislation? And my opinion is that yes, you definitely should do that, because if the Republicans were ever to be in that position to where they have the House and the Senate, and again, it's just 50 votes in the Senate,
right,
and the presidency, they will do that immediately. There is no question about it, because, look at all the extreme measures they've done, with Judge Garland, with all the shutdowns.
There is no doubt this is no longer a party. You're correct. This is no longer, this is really an ideology. A friend of mine kind of said something a few weeks ago. He said that the Republican Party has begun acting like the Taliban. And, some folks on the internet took offense to that. But when he itemized all the things that they do, it is not at all different, and including religion. Including they complain about Sharia law, but at the same time, they want to apply Christian, Judeo-Christian laws within our civil laws, which, how different is, well, I choose the Judeo-Christian civil laws to govern our country, or I choose some other type of, I mean, it is nonsensical. So we have to look at things the way they really, really are. So, folks, whatever the case is, I tell you what, you better go out there and vote. And what we need to have is a massive amount of voting out there. Chris Lomas, welcome aboard. The TNC has pushed no meaningful legislation in the last 8 years. Only thing ever comes to vote is the repeal, the RNC. Yeah, I figured, I just kind of was saying, what is TNC? RNC. Yeah, you're correct. That's all. Look, that is the other thing. When Donald Trump made the case that, the Democrats have done nothing for you, that is one of the issues that should be also pushed. And that is that, in effect, okay, yes, there was not a lot of legislation passed, but the reason why they didn't pass is because the Congress was controlled elsewhere. But I tell you what, the first 2 years of President Obama's presidency, the amount of laws that got passed and the amount of things that went through, we're still benefiting from. Look at green energy. Look at what has happened over that amount of time. And by the way, Shreen Morrison, prayer in school, not? Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't think you should have sanctioned prayer in school. Absolutely not. You should never have sanctioned prayer, because that assumes that you're promoting religion. What I object to it from a lot of people on my side of the ideological spectrum is I wouldn't say if an organization wants to meet on school campus for something, I'm not going to stop them from, I don't want to stop them from praying. Some of our folks kind of go overboard with that, and as far as they're saying, oh, well, if you're on public property, you can't pray. Hogwash. I think I respect everybody's right to pray, everybody's right not to pray, and that, at least that is my belief. I believe in true democracy, that folks have the right to do whatever the hell they want to do, as long as it doesn't inflict on my rights. John, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about what Don was talking about.
Yes.
The first time that Donald Trump made his debut in the New York Times was October 16th, 1973. And both he and his father the lawsuit was filed in Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island for violating the Fair Housing Act of 1968 in its operation of 39 buildings. So, I mean, that's how people came to know Donald Trump.
Yes.
The first time in the New York Times, with basically discriminating against people. I mean, because of their race and color.
Right.
And so, I mean, he has been consistent about that, in his malignment of minorities and anybody who he considers the other. And also his father, the lawsuit was also against his father, who had a lot of ties to the KKK.
I just found that out. I didn't know that. I just found that out. I didn't know that. It's amazing.
Yeah, in the 20s, Fred Trump was very highly, associated. I mean, in 1924, the KKK was very involved in the Democratic
Party.
For me to admit it, but
it's true.
It's the truth. I mean, the Democratic convention in New York City, the KKK was all over that, and he had a lot of connections to the KKK back then, Fred Trump. So, yeah, I mean, it's, among other things, and telling people to, beat up protesters in the fall. I mean, there's just, one after another.
Yeah, the guy's a thug.
And so
the guy is a thug. We have Donald Trump, the person running for the Republican, for the presidential candidate Republican Party. He's a thug. Let's just call it what he is. He's a racist thug. But that said, what is interesting to me, and I don't call names a whole lot, but I think in this case it is justified. What is interesting is, given what I know now about the father and so forth, it explains so much, right? Because you can't think that somebody can be, the man was a Democrat for all practical purposes. He loved the Clintons. He had nothing bad to say about the Clintons ever. I think what happened, right, is the same thing. It's the same thing that has happened to a whole lot of, let's say, folks who are very sad that finally America got its first president that wasn't white. Somehow there are a group of people in this country who takes that to heart as meaning that in having a black president, it diminishes who they are. And you wonder if that was Donald Trump's trigger into becoming a Republican, because that's the only way he could actually fight the protest that we elected this guy. I mean, because, you know, I think he could be considered a reliable Democrat in the past. Someone who donated a lot of money. Somebody who loved hanging with the Clintons, you know. But Obama, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, he's also supported a lot of Republicans because he was interviewed at the 1988 Republican convention.
Under what tenet, though? What was he interviewed about? But I think I saw that interview, and that wasn't a particularly glory, glory, hallelujah, I'm a Republican.
Well, right, he did say he was supporting Bush, though.
Right.
You know, that was Herbert Walker's first run in '88.
Right.
He did win. And so, yeah, I mean, that's, you know, it's just also, you know, the Central Park jogger, you know, I was living in New York City at the time.
Oh, you were there then?
And, yeah, and, you know, that was incredibly overblown. And he took out, you know, full-page articles, full-page ads in the New York Times, you know, it was just incredibly negative.
Right.
And, you know, it found out that the people who were convicted were exonerated.
Right, right.
Know, and they spent all this time in jail, you know, and they didn't even do the crime. And
right.
So, I mean, you know, it's just pure racism. And, you know, like I said before, I mean, you're right in the sense that, you know, there's still going to be a Republican Party, and it's still going to be strong. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm hopeful that we can win the House. Right. But I mean, you know, there's still going to be. I mean, I'm not one of these people that are saying, oh, the Republicans, they're going to be wiped off the map and all that kind of stuff. No, they're too ingrained into Southern society, into Midwestern society, and into the non-coastal West. They're going to remain strong there. But I mean, at least, you know, I mean, it'll go back to dog whistles, you know. But you know, bad enough. But I mean, this is pure, flat out, overt racism and overt bigotry towards Muslims. Yes. And towards the other, you know. I mean, the way he's talked about Mexicans in particular. Mm-hmm. I mean, and so that's why I feel like, you know, that particular, you know, odious behavior will I think be lessened. And I also think that, I mean, a lot of people who follow this say that somebody else will just come up and use the same racism, and they'll be thrust into the spotlight because of this. I don't think so. I think that people. I think Trump was able to do this because people knew him through reality television. Right. And also, Republicans think because if you're rich, they give you that extra latitude. Right. And, I agree with you 100%. And so I think that this, I just don't see anybody being as overtly racist. I mean, they're still going to be awful. You know, Ted Cruz is going to be awful, and Paul Ryan will still be a gentle killer. He'll act like he's, I'm so compassionate, but all of his policies are going to be, you know, to actually make life worse for the working class, for the middle class. We have to understand something about the Republican ideology, and these guys are lock, stock, and barrel into Ayn Rand, right? That's what they believe. They believe that most people aren't worthy. They believe workers aren't worthy. They believe the only people that are worthy are those people who go out there and somehow, that capital is what's worthy. You go out there and establish a company and
and then hire people. You are worthy. Your employees are just cogs. Your employees are just widgets. Okay. And just be glad that we're giving you something to live on. The people of importance are those of us that have companies, etc., etc., etc. They don't see the symbiotic relationship that is necessary and an equitable relationship that is necessary between the employer and the employee. I mean, most employees, if they really wanted to spend the time, they could have been themselves employers. So, I mean, people give just too much credence or too much latitude to the businessman, to the guy who creates work. What do they call the work to
the job creators?
The job creators, right? Look, everybody who spends a dime, they are job creators because they are, and you know but you know what what gets me and what it's something that one of my goals in life now is to really talk about empowering people, because what we've done in this country is we've diminished people. We've tried to let people believe that we've given them gradations of power, and we've decided what we will decide is powerful. What I want to do, my little bit that I want to do for society, is to make every single American citizen know that no other American citizen is more valuable, more powerful, or anything. You choose how powerful you want to be. That is my goal, because when people start acting with the innate power that they have, then they will start voting appropriately. Then they cannot be fooled by the Trumps and the other charlatans that come along. That's my goal. But we are coming to the end of the program. So, John, give me a 30-second or so closer before we close this baby up.
Okay, enjoyed the show as usual, and I'm looking at the House races, hoping that it's going to get a little bit closer. I mean, there's a couple Senate races that are getting closer.
Right.
In North Carolina, that's getting closer with Deborah Ross.
Mm-hmm.
North Carolina is really coming around.
Right.
It's great to see Reverend Barber. I think is having an impact. He's a great man. And also in what's the other one? In Nevada, Catherine Cortez Mastro is with Harry Reid's seat is also getting closer. The last poll was even, so that would be a nice little cushion.
That would be great.
48
Yes,
would be nice.
Yes.
So that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking for that, and also looking forward to that debate on September 7th about our veterans.
Yes.
To be on NBC.
Yes.
So that was a nice little event. I think Clinton will do well, and I hope that. I mean, again, I have concerns about Clinton and her hawkishness, but hopefully she'll listen to the people and not make a rash decision.
I think if she's sensible, she would, or she will. And I think the woman is a very smart woman. I mean, we have different values in a lot of other issues, but I think the woman is smart, and I think she will behave appropriately. Of course, she'll be checking the poll numbers, and she'll be optimizing the independent vote, the Democratic vote, and the Republican vote. So whatever she does, she will try to optimize it, that she makes her message relevant on the bell to those people that lie right there in the big part of the bell. Folks, you're listening to Politics Done Right. I do appreciate you spending this time with me. We are going to be having our next show, of course, on Thursday. Please remember to show up. My name is Egberto Willies, and this is Politics Done Right, and we are out. Thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. You can personally reach me by sending an email to egberto@politicsdoneright.com. Remember, Egberto is spelled E-G-B-E-R-T-O. Change starts with you. 90.1 KPFT gives you information not tainted by corporate interest. Please visit kpft.org and contribute. Let's ensure continued access to real information and news remain available to all. Again, thank you very much for listening to politics done right.